You ready for another podcast, babe?
Oh, yeah. Sitting by the fire.
Yeah, the weather has taken a turn, and we usually like to record podcasts on our back porch. But
instead of the birds chirping, you'll hear the
fire flickering.
The fire crackling.
Yeah. It is something that we had to adjust to, and but we're here. And actually we're here to talk specifically about podcasts, but even more generally about creativity. So the nudge that you gave me was, you want to talk about creativity, and I wanted to sort of also frame it in terms of the podcast or podcasts overall.
Yeah, because it's been a form of creativity that you enjoy.
Yeah. So some of the tension,
not so much.
Some of the tension that Jessica and I feel with each other is that I am almost always psyched to do the podcast. Uh-huh. I would record every day, multiple times a day, document most of our life, in fact, if you would let me.
You should have been a vlogger.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Podcast maybe, but we'll see. But and for you, it does feel a little more like work, or at least that's what you say until we turn the microphones on. Do you feel like you're working right now?
Yes.
That's crazy. Why?
Because I want to be upstairs eating.
You can't eat
I can't eat until I'm done with the podcast.
Okay, but that is not your usual sort of...
It just feels like I have to get it done because we committed to getting it done.
We did.
Yeah.
But for me, okay, so maybe this is...
anytime I have a commitment, it takes out a little bit of the joy of just like creativity.
Okay. So for you, creativity has more organic.
Yes.
Something strikes you in a moment. It's not a have to, it's a want to.
Yeah. And I think I've been kind of thinking about it in terms of our business, because in the beginning I felt like we had to be so creative. We had to come up with this brand new menu, new drinks every season. We had to come up with a decor and all of these things.
We still have to do that because we're opening up another business and another season is coming.
But don't you think it's different now because we have an operations team? So, like, even for example, we were designing a bag for our coffee for the holiday blend today. Yeah. And it was like one of our employees was designing it, and really we're just weighing it. I like this. Let's tweak that. It's different.
So the fact that you have to hold a microphone in your hand instead of having somebody hold the microphone for you, it makes it...
That's not what I was saying.
But it's just, that's all it is. Is just, I'm your employee. Just imagine I'm your employee, and you get to say, all right, employee, tell me what to weigh in on, and I'll serve you up with some sort of prompt or question.
Okay, I should have looked at it that way the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to look at it. But let's talk at it like in a bigger picture about how, and I think this does feed into some of the tension around me sort of forcing you to be a part of the podcast, is the role that podcasts play in your life or don't. Like, did you listen to a podcast today? Yes or no?
No.
How about yesterday?
No.
In the last week, have you listened to a podcast?
I listened to one.
Okay. What was that?
How I Built This.
And what company was it?
Good question.
How I Built This with Guy Raz, where he interviews founders on their journey to...
They make bags. The name is escaping me.
All right, it doesn't matter. So one time in the last week, you've listened to a podcast, and it was so impactful that you've already forgotten the name.
Well, I mean, it's pretty typical for me to forget the name of something.
But the point is, podcasts are not a big part of your life. You could go days, and you do go days without listening to them. How many podcasts do you think I've listened to in the last week?
21.
I haven't counted, but that
would be 3 a day.
I would not. Oh yeah, definitely 21 then. I mean, I definitely wouldn't take that bet because there's a pretty good chance that I would be.
Yeah, I feel like in order to do everything that I have to do, like just my responsibilities, for some reason, I feel like I have to keep my brain just.
You can't do the things you want to do?
I don't know.
Can't be creative?
I can be, but I feel like when I'm listening to a podcast, it's more noise.
I can understand. I can understand that. There is, so I'll like relate it back to coffee shops for me. Like when we would go to coffee shops and love them, and even like the first time that, you know, you told me about your dream of opening a coffee shop, I think by that point, maybe I described to you a coffee shop that I loved, or had you just seen my receipts in that
Yeah,
case?
I'd just seen your receipts at that point.
Okay. But since we kind of decided that that was something that we were into, it was like you go and you continue to consume a lot of different things that feed your inspiration and creativity to then do something similar and or hopefully better. So for me, I listen to podcasts. I'm inspired by podcasts, and I want to keep listening to then like do one better.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely, when I'm in a rut, as just a leader, for me, listening to a podcast about leadership or about how a founder started a company does give me inspiration. So I do get that.
I wonder if for you, it's just so much more focused on the content and like the message and not the medium.
Yes. Yeah, I think that would be true.
Although there have been a couple times where I've like forced you to listen to more of like a story-based podcast.
That's what I was just thinking. What was that one?
S-Town?
S-Town. That was really good.
I mean, S-Town's, I think it's still the most downloaded podcast of all time.
We were painting a house.
You remember where we were?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, I'm impressed. I don't remember this. I've listened to it through like 4 or 5 different times.
We were painting your house before you put it on the market.
Okay.
So right before we got married. And we bought a separate house that we were then both moving into. So we listened to it while we painted that whole house.
So you have a good memory of that, right? Yeah. It was high quality. You were not learning how to do anything better with your business. It was just a compelling human story.
Yeah, it was just a good story.
Yeah. A good story, well told. Like it's good, the production values and all of that were good.
Yeah, it was really good.
Okay. So the medium does or can grab you at times, but the message is definitely important as well. Like I've exposed you to some podcasts that you could not give two craps about.
Yes. I've been on some road trips with you where I'm just like, get me out of the car.
If I was driving, we wouldn't be listening to this garbage.
I think I'm, for some reason, reluctant with it.
Yeah, no, you are.
It's like I have to be convinced of its value.
Okay. Can I ask you then how you feel about the feedback that you've received from the podcast that you've gotten so far?
That we're doing?
Yeah, you.
I haven't gotten a whole lot.
Okay.
I would say I've had a handful of customers that have said they really like it.
Now, do you think you believe them, or do you think that they're just saying that to be nice or make conversation, or do you actually think that they had an experience to where they appreciated it and they wanted to bring that up to you?
Yeah, I think they appreciated it. The feedback I got was that we are very real and relatable, which that was always a big deal for me, was to be transparent, talk about this isn't all rosy over here. Definitely not.
Which is interesting because we do have a couple of recordings that may never be released of us kind of either in, we'll call it pre-fight, or maybe even in the middle of a fight.
Oh, the ones where you wanted to record a podcast when we did get away for one single day from construction?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it felt like work to me, but it didn't to you, and I think that's fine, and that we just see things in a different way.
Yeah. And I don't want to rehash that. I'm happy to not be in a fight, and I'm learning like what it is that, you know, makes you excited or feels like work to you, and I don't want to like just put more stuff onto your plate, but it was interesting how we managed that tension of me really wanting to kind of capture an experience that we were having together.
Which was the hardest experience we've ever had.
Which experience is this?
Opening the store. I feel like this has been the hardest year
Oh, I was talking about the Ray LaMontagne concert that we were going to.
Gotcha.
I was like, that's the hardest experience we've ever had because we had to park a quarter mile away.
No, that was a good experience. I'm talking about this year. We've doing the podcast during what felt like the hardest time made it feel like another challenge that I had to push myself towards. When I really just didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like going out of my comfort zone in another area.
Hey, Wes from Wally Opus here, and I am excited to share that this episode of the Honeymoon Coffee Company podcast is brought to you by Nectar. Nectar is a podcast network and sublabel of Wally Opus that was created to serve podcasters from Southern Indiana with show production, content direction, and distribution solutions. Due in no small part to our collaboration with Honeymoon on the making of this show, we at Wally Opus see an opportunity to discover what it is that makes your story, or you as a person, uniquely interesting, and then craft a theme and a program direction that best fits you. So whether you're a business trying to share a more in-depth narrative about your brand, or someone who's finally ready to make your unique D&D podcast, check out Nectar at wallyopus.com/podcasts and send us a message. And as Zach would say, cheers.
Actually, it just kind of clicked for me in a way that it hadn't before because it could be totally perceived as, one more thing.
Oh, absolutely. It's one more thing to me.
Because this project for us, this construction project, is almost a never-ending series of one more things. Mm-hmm. Like you will get
even
done.
When you think you're done with the room, then another contractor comes through and nicks the wall, or you have to repair it, and then you have to paint it, and it really does feel like.
And the reality is, it'll never be like done. You don't just open up a business and you never have to do any maintenance on that space that you just created or whatnot. So there's always additional things you can do to make something more beautiful.
We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and I think now we get to be more creative, which is nice. It's like we get to pick out artwork and plants and
these
employees.
are definitely the things that are and employees. Yeah, these are the things that are definitely that bring you more life than what we've had to deal with, the sort of the have-tos and the functional things more than some of the form-related things of how a space makes you feel. Nobody feels anything from the straightness of the studs in the wall.
No, they don't see them.
No.
I will say that the podcast, kind of reflecting on it, it's been hard at times, but usually once we get going, like I enjoy talking to you, and so it has felt good. You just have to get me there sometimes. Yeah,
just you're reluctant, but not necessarily. However, I mean, when we were fighting, you were ready to kill me, and it was good for me to see like that, like what it actually brought from you, because I think in my mind that's what I thought. It was like, oh, she really likes it. She just needs me to kind of put a microphone in her face, and then she'll be happy.
Perk up and be happy.
But you weren't, and I realized like, oh, this really is something that I'm doing that's like taking away her joy. And
so does that mean we're taking a break?
as a couple, we're taking a break.
No, the podcast.
We were on a break.
The podcast.
Yeah. I think what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up a season, and Wes, our producer, had even suggested that we do a live episode.
Sounds scary.
So why?
I don't know.
Oh,
live?
You don't like public speaking?
Audience?
I mean, who knows how many people will be there? But I think what we're going to do is a live episode. I think. It may be pending. We'll have to look up the legality of this. The health department may have to give us the green light to allow people into our space, but we'll record something live in our new space, probably before we're even open. I mean, this is all, put a big asterisk on this. Maybe it'll be after we're open. Who knows? But it'll be in the evening, and we'll do a fun kind of live podcast end of season 1 recording, and you don't have to feel the obligation to record podcasts for at least a little while.
Okay, awesome.
You're okay with that?
I mean, It depends.
Wes will be there queuing up questions and like making sure that, everything flows smoothly.
I know. I'm just asking if this is going to be like 2 days before we're opening. I'm going to be really stressed out. So we'll talk about the details.
Someone who's listening to this after the fact, or once the date has been nailed down, will be laughing at whatever sort of indecisiveness that we had over this and who won the argument or who didn't.
Maybe.
So
we're keeping score over here.
Any final thoughts on creativity as we've talked about podcasts before we hang up the mics until our live episode?
Any final thoughts on creativity? I'm just looking forward to getting to be more creative again.
Yeah. You can feel it. I can see it in you, actually.
I feel like this era of our little construction era.
Shout out Taylor Swift.
Yeah, hasn't been the best for us. And we've realized our weaknesses in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. It's been helpful, though.
It has been. It's like, you know what? You're not good at this. Hire someone.
Get back to
hire
something.
a bigger construction firm next time.
Get back to something that you're good at.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to more people. I worked a little bit in the shop yesterday because they were slammed, and I realized I missed people.
Yeah. Do you feel like that helped with your creativity at all, or just like simply
I think
an enjoyable experience?
Yeah, I think what's helping with the creativity is to know that we're almost done.
Yeah.
Because we've worked every single day, like out there, long hours, and it's getting to be a lot.
Yeah.
It has been a lot.
I think for me, on the creativity side, I am also looking forward to sort of post being open and how we can engage more digitally with our customers. Like there's a lot of opportunities through the Evansville Coffee Company of doing things on the website, and we have a great marketing director. Shout out Destiny Williams. And I just feel like there's a lot of cool potential that is just around the corner, that having sort of an open spirit to receive, creative energy from will be really good.
Any sort of energy sounds great.
Energy sounds good?
Yeah, just energy.
Okay, well, energy's coming. Drink more coffee. All right, well, that's it. Love you.
Love you.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show this week. If you'd like to learn more about Honeymoon Coffee Company, check them out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. If you'd like to submit a question for a future episode, visit honeymooncoffeeco.com/podcast. This podcast was produced by Wally Opus with editing by Brooklyn Hoffititz, music composed by Sam Cuban, and project management by me, Wesley Luttrell. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back again soon.